Good morning, my listeners. Today is Tuesday, the 19th day of March 2024. This is Counselor Jean-Louis, and I hope that you are ready for today's motivational program. As I said, that this program is there to motivate you. This program is there to rejuvenate you because people are going through lots of different crises. There are people who are hurting out there, and many times that hurt begins at childhood. And people just don't know what to do because they experience what is known as post-traumatic stress disorder. Something is just triggering and re-triggering that bad experience. And I just do not know what to do. That's what people are saying to themselves. And as a result, this program is there to excite you, to give you hope once again that you can become a conqueror. You can master whatever experience that you are going through. That you can now look at your circumstance. You can now look at your crisis experience and reshape. In other words, in psychology, we call it cognitive reconstructing. You now see an experience that was once depressing. You can now see an experience that was filled with pain and suffering. And with cognitive restructuring, you will see it as an opportunity for personal growth and development. So I want you to tune in, and if you really appreciate this video, I would like you to click on like. I would like you to share it, and I also want you to press the subscribe button because we are doing this together. People pay lots of money for counseling, for help. They are getting it free of charge. I mean, they are getting information that will help them, that will excite them, and begin the process of change in their lives. And it is all free, and you are the conduit that will help these people, these lovable people, to get change in their lives and to be empowered. Now, yesterday, we were looking at this woman with the issue of blood. And the reason that I'm focusing on that story that was taken from the book of Mark, because it has lots of food for us. It has an experience that every one of us can identify with. And that story it has certain steps that if we understand those steps and the concepts behind the experience of that woman, then we can be in a position to gain enlightenment. You'll be in a better position to understand your purpose here on earth, to understand the challenge that you are going through, because you are able to identify with what that woman was going through, and you will learn from the steps that she took so that she can be empowered and be free from her suffering and pain. She became an empowered young lady. So let us continue on what we will say. Scripture said that that woman, she knew that she had a problem. She knew that she did not have the knowledge and capacity on her own to deal with her problem. So she sought help. Scripture went further and said that she took all of her resources, her finance, probably her land, and her mortgage. She sold them. I'm just insinuating this one. But she said she was drained of all of her resources of finance. Yet her conditions did not get better. According to scripture, it got worse. So you could understand and appreciate what that woman was going through. That woman would have gone through what we call psychologically depression, because she had tried every possible avenue, every possible option that was available to her at the time to get help. How many of us have found ourselves in such a position? I have worked with people, from a police officer from 1991 and from a counselor from 2006. I have worked with people and I have seen the suffering that people have gone through. I have worked with people where they have been messed up by family members. They have been messed up by people that they trust. The family members knew. And those young people, or those individuals, have been violated. A number of young people, they have people who are married, and the marriage is crumbling before them. Some of them have been married once, twice, probably 3 times, and yet still their marriage is crumbling and they do not know what to do. They want to be happy. Something is driving them to be happy. And that is something that is natural within us. We want to be happy. But there are things in our lives that keep creeping up. Things in our lives that are influencing us to behave and to think in a particular way. And we become damaged goods. We have unfinished business in our lives. And because we want some stability in our lives, we want to be happy. We want our suffering and our pain to come to an end. So many times, people are given avenues for them to be happy. Many times, people join religious groups because they are told that if you become a member of a particular religious organization, the pain and the sorrow will end. But to their amazement, they realize the pain and the sorrow is still there because there is still unfinished business in their lives that they need to resolve. There have people who believe that their way out is to get married. Because if I get married, I will get the love, I will get the attention that I never got growing up. Because that husband, that wife becomes the object of the happiness. What they never got at home, what they never got from the school environment, they now are gambling that on a husband and a wife, not understanding that they have unfinished business in their lives, unresolved issues. And some of those unresolved issues, based upon my experience as a counseling psychologist, are as follows. One of the biggest issues that I have experienced in the breakdown of marriage is what we call sexual molestation of children. St. Lucia has a big problem when it comes to incest. Fathers are going into their daughters, some of them as young as 8, 9 years old, and they are having sexual relationships with their daughters. And poor little child is confused about what is happening because they realize, but that ought not to be the role of daddy, the person that I love. I don't want that type of love. So many times they will try to fight their daddy off because it is confusing to them and it is shameful. Yet still, daddy will overpower that little child and keep on having sexual relationship with that little child. That child is growing up. And all what she knows is my daddy every night coming into my room to sexually violate me. And that child begins to go through what we call trauma. That child begins to feel dirty. That child begins to feel nasty. That child begins to have self-hate. That child is beginning to go through depression. That child is beginning to feel powerless because there's little that she can do. Because I fear daddy. But at the same time, I love my daddy. But there's a contradiction. And many times, these young women, they blame themselves. Why? Because whilst they are struggling with daddy, whilst they are in fear, they are crying. They cannot function in a school setting because their minds have been messed up. Yet still, when daddy is imposing himself upon me, I have an orgasm. And that child is thrust into another state of confusion. And they begin to accept, I like what daddy is doing. Because if I did not like what daddy is doing, I would not have had an orgasm. And they go in even greater or chronic depression. The self-concept and self-esteem is crushed because now they are sending all sorts of confusing messages in their minds because they are trying to make sense of what that is happening to them. And that is rampant in St. Lucia. And they grow up as young girls. And many of them, at an early age, they run away from their homes. And I'm telling you this, because this thing is so rampant. And many times, the big names we are hearing in society, they are some of the biggest culprits. Big names in society that mess up the children. So when those children go to school, they cannot focus. And they become highly sexualized. And you begin to see them dropping out of school. And to compensate for what is happening to them, trying to make sense of what is happening to them, trying to bring some sort of equilibrium and peace in their lives, many of them compensate by start smoking cigarettes. And from cigarettes, because the cigarette no longer can give me that sense of peace, can lower my stress, they move into marijuana, and more and more that marijuana, over time, there's what is known as sensory desensitization or sensory adaptation. The marijuana no longer have that potency to give them that type of feeling of peace. And they move into drugs, they move in a lot of alcohol, they move in a lot of partying, and very soon you will see them on some sort of social media, putting their private parts, shaking it up, because they are confused. They have no sense of dignity. They have no sense of pride. because they are broken vessels. And what you will see happening many times, they are given a way out because they are looking for peace in their lives. And they use religion as the means of getting that peace. And, and whilst in religion, they would get a spouse, a man, that they would see and compensate for their lost father, because this man is showing them kindness. This man is showing them caring. This man is showing them affection. And what they will do, soon and very soon, you will hear a marriage taking place. But what will happen? They will have unfinished business in that person's life. And not too far, you will begin to hear the marriage beginning to rock. Because every time my husband touches me, the memory of my dad comes to my mind and problems begin. And a number of our young ladies, a number of our marriage are experiencing this. However, stay tuned for part 3, because we are going to delve deeper into what is happening to people, for us to understand the suffering that people go through. Try to understand more that little boy or that little girl in the classroom and the reason that they are behaving in the manner that they're behaving. And all what they need is a little love and compassion. And not that they want sex from you. So stay tuned tomorrow, where we will go a little deeper into the conversation that we are having today. So what I want you to do, if you really and truly appreciate this video, I would like you to share it with somebody that you know need that information. And I'd also like you to like this video. And finally, I would like you to subscribe to it. Remember, getting that type of information costs hundreds of dollars. Over time, you pay thousands of dollars for it. I am giving it to you free. Freely receive, freely give. And I want you to share it so that some other person can benefit from it. So until tomorrow, you take care of yourself and remember that you can do anything if you set your mind towards it. Have a blessed day.